What's going on, everybody? I'm Jason and you're watching Tennessee Mountain Homestead. Today we got a special video, a little bit different from what we normally do. Now, right here, we've got a 1967 Peerless 2300 out of a Sears Custom 6. And in a recent video, I managed to make a rookie mistake and I broke off this hub trying to remove it from the transmission. All right, guys, let's see if it's gonna work. Oh, that was it.
Why do we saw that on video?
Now, I really want to get that off, and it kind of bothers me that it's still on there. So what we're going to try to do is use some special tools to get this thing off. The first tool we're going to use is the Ruger 1022. We're going to go ahead and call this the center punch. It's the smallest caliber I have. I actually have 22 short, but I don't have a rifle. Just a little snub nose revolver for that. So we're going to stick with this. The next gun I've got here is a Beretta M9, chambered in 9mm. Then we've got a slightly longer 10.5-inch barrel out of the FX9 Freedom Ordnance. It's also 9mm. The next caliber up is a Beretta Model 96, chambered in .40 caliber Smith & Wesson. We've got a Springfield Armory XD 45, chambered in .45 ACP. Next up, we've got a Colt Delta Elite stainless steel, chambered in 10mm auto. Then we've got the 3-pound sledge, which is a Smith & Wesson Model 29, chambered in .44 Magnum. Next, we've got the 5-pound sledge, which is a Smith & Wesson 500, chambered in .500 Magnum. Moving right along, we've got a Mossberg 500, which is maybe a 10-pound sledge equivalent, chambered in 12 gauge, and we've got it loaded up with some 1-ounce slugs. The next thing we've got here is a Molot VEPR 12 gauge, also chambered in 12 gauge, and it is loaded up with 1-ounce slugs, and this is on an AK47 platform. The next thing we've got is an AR-15 chambered in 5.56, and this is going to be running the 55 grain or 62 grain green tip with the steel penetrator. Next up, we've got an AK47 chambered in 7.62 by 39, and this is a Zastava. The next we've got is a 450 Bushmaster, or it's an AR-15 chambered in 450 Bushmaster with an 18-inch barrel. Next up, we've got America's favorite deer rifle. This is a Marlin chambered in 30-30. Next up, we've got a SOCOM 16 chambered in 308. This here is a Finnish M39 Mosin Nagant chambered in 7.62 by 54R. And last, but definitely not least, is a M1 Garand chambered in 30-06. Now, predictions. I think everything up to the rifles isn't going to do much to this thing. That's cast iron on top of hardened axle steel. So I think the 22 is going to just maybe leave a little mar, some lead on the surface, as are the smaller caliber pistols. And I guess we're going to find out. I think the first rifle that's actually going to do anything to this is the AR-15 with the steel core penetrators. And then once we get up to the bigger, more powerful cartridges like 7.62 by 54R and 30-06 especially, I think those might break it up. But the goal is to break that piece of cast iron hub, clean off the axle until it's not there anymore. Let's get started. Clear. All right, guys, that was 5 rounds of 22 LR, and just as I suspected, it didn't do anything to it. It just made some surface marks. That's probably just lead. So let's move up to the 9mm. All right, next up, Beretta M9. And these are loaded up with 115 grain jacketed hollow points. Clear. Well, the 9mm out of that pistol, and that's just target ammo, but it didn't do much except it managed to break off one of those gussets. See that gusset right there? This one's missing because it broke off. Let's step it up to the 9mm out of the FX9. It's a slightly longer barrel. It'll get a little bit more velocity, same ammunition. All right, guys, 10.5-inch barrel, FX9 on an AR platform, direct blowback, same ammunition we just used in the M9. Clear. All right, this is looking kind of promising, guys. I think once we get to the rifles, the big rifles, this thing's not going to stand a chance, because if you come in here, that gusset is now cracked, and there's a crack. I know it's hard to see. It runs all the way around over here. I didn't see that before, so I think it's starting to give. And I smacked it hard right there, also with that gun. But let's step it up to the 40 caliber and see if that does anything different. I doubt it. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson out of a Beretta Model 96. Real quick, I've had this gun for over 20 years. I bought it brand new in 2003, I believe. Clear. All right, guys, more of the same. Now, I was using 180 grain jacketed hollow point, flat nose, and it just, same thing, it just made some marks. The crack got a little bigger on that gusset, but I'm starting to think maybe we should, oh, Colt found the piece of the broken off gusset, which was right here. Anyway, I'm starting to think we should bypass the 45 ACP and go straight to the 44 Magnum. I changed my mind. We already had the 45 out, and I haven't shot this gun in a long time. So we're gonna go ahead and do the 45 ACP. It's chambered, well, it's loaded, sorry, with 230 grain full metal jackets. Clear. All right, the 45 made a little progress, but you know, let's face it, every time we hit this thing with a bullet, it's softening it up, it's weakening it, it's doing stuff to the material. So I can't say the 45 just did all that damage, but it's missing the next gusset that was already cracked. And you can see where all this lead is starting to powder up on here and just get smeared into the surface of the cast iron. So let's step it up to 44 mag and see what happens. All right, one of my favorite pistols I own is this Smith & Wesson Model 29. It's basically Dirty Harry's gun. It's a 6.5 inch barrel, and we have it loaded up with 240 grain. I think they're jacketed soft points. Yeah, that's what they are. 240 grain jacketed soft points. So let's see if this thing can break off a big part of that flange. Oh! Yeah, I say there's a power difference there. I felt that one. Oh! Took it right off like it was nothing. We gotta save some room for the big rifles though. Did he shoot 4 or did he shoot 6? Well, do you feel lucky, punk? Oh! Oh! All right, guys, as you just saw, the 44 Magnum broke off major pieces of this. So it's still, we have the body of it left and it's on the axle in the back there. Yeah, Jace found a piece of it. So we're breaking off chunks of cast iron. The 44 Magnum had a field day with that. Let's hit it with the 500 Magnum. Try to hit it right there on the middle and see if it'll break it off of the axle. Next up is one of my favorites, but this thing kicks like a mule. It's the 500, the Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum. And what I've got in this gun are 300 grain jacketed soft points. It's like a tube of lipstick. Let's see if this thing can do anything. Let's see if I can even hit that thing. That's a hand cannon. That actually stings the palm. I know I'm hitting it because it's hitting in the creek. It's deflecting off of the axle. Oh! It went right over the top of it and destroyed that rock in the background. Well, that was all 5. There's a spent cartridge stuck in there. We'll have to get that out. There we go. It's clear. But I think I only hit it 3 out of 5 times. Let's see what it did. All right, the 500 Magnum did not break this off. It's not even loose yet. I can't pull it off because it should just slide off the axle. But the 500 didn't do anything to this, and I know I hit it because it hit here and the bullet deflected and went down and splashed in the creek. So we bypassed 10 millimeter because I got too excited. I don't think we're gonna revisit the 10 millimeter though. Let's step it up. Let's hit it with a 1 ounce slug and see what happens.
Go back, go back, go, 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 go back.
Next up is the 1 ounce 12 gauge slug out of the Mossberg 500. All right. I definitely got it both times, but I don't think this soft lead is gonna do anything to that. We're gonna put this on safe. Put it back over here on the bench. Well, I was wrong. So, turns out the 12 gauge 1 ounce slug definitely broke a large chunk right off of the axle. So, I kind of want to move on and see what a rifle will do to this before it becomes completely busted. And I don't know, this transmission is full of water. The gear shifter's all seized up. We might have to give it a little playtime with the other rifles somewhere besides the axle. I don't know yet.
He did.
Yeah, that's the piece that the 12 gauge took off. Yeah, let's see, Crush. Yeah, we got some metal bits coming off, but it's still stuck on there. It's still seized on the axle. Let's see what a AR-15 will do to it with some 5.56 green tip. Next up is a rifle that I've had for a lot of years. I kind of put this thing together back around 2012, back when everybody was panic buying guns. So it's a US M4 lower with a BCM upper. It's got a few other pieces and parts on it, like this quad rail. That's old school because now they're all the different style ones with the M-lock and all that other stuff. But this has an EOTech reticle, and it's also got a Fostech Echo trigger in it that has the binary function where it shoots when you pull the trigger and fires upon release. So you can kind of get it going and simulate full auto. And we're loaded up with Lake City ammunition, military surplus stuff. It's the 62 grain green tip with the steel penetrator. Now I think that this stuff is just gonna chew that thing up and knock pieces off of it. Let's try it out. We're hot. We're only gonna put it on single shot mode for this. I can hit it. All right, I'm having a little bit of an issue hitting it because of the height over bore. All right, let me try to get back a little bit because this thing's sighted in for I don't know how many yards. Got it. Let me get back a little further, because I only hit it once so far. I got it. Got it. I'm hitting it now. I think I see axle. Yeah, I think it's gone. Let's go see. Hold on. Magazine out. Clear. All right, guys, well, my predictions were correct. The AR-15, that steel core stuff, the velocity it's putting out, you know, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 feet per second with a steel penetrator. Well, it did exactly what I thought. Not only did it take off what was left of the axle hub, but I managed to hit here, I guess, right on the bearing housing. You can see exposed bearings, and you can see the axle itself where the bullet hit dead center on the axle. So it definitely put a nice splash in that steel too. So the hub is off officially, but the transmission is also now more or less ruined. I could put another tube on this. I could put it on the shelf. I could try to rebuild it, maybe save an ancient piece of American history. Or we can use the rest of the rifles and send this thing to its graveyard. All right, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna hit it with this Molot VEPR 12 gauge. It's got 5 rounds of one ounce slug in it. This is one of my favorite guns to shoot. This thing is cool. Let's go. Oh! Right through the case. You see the water splashing out of it. That thing's full of water. And we're empty. We're clear. The bolt locks back on the last round and you can see the chamber's empty. All right, well, that was a different situation because we hit hollow cast iron, not cast iron that was on top of hard steel. But as you can see, that 1 ounce slugs easily busted that case apart, and it took off teeth from the bull gear. This axle is officially done. This whole thing's just done. So now I don't feel too bad about sending it all the way. And you can see here, that's what was inside this thing. It's 58 years old, guys, and I just don't think there was much saving it. Plus, when I build that Sears, I'm gonna be putting John Deere 2300s in the Sears anyway. I never had intentions of using this. It was already bound for the scrapyard. We're gonna send it all the way. All right, we're gonna hit it with the AK next, and I've got some special rounds in there. These are Hornady 123 grain. These are meant to hunt with. I guess it's for bolt action probably. It'll work in this just fine. But it's a lacquer coated case with the soft tips. So you could load it into a lever action or, you know, deer hunt with this stuff. That also helps it expand when it hits soft medium. All right, let's tear that thing up. I could hear bullet fragments raining down on all the metal roofs. All right, we still have some left, but I'm gonna clear this one out and we're gonna move on to another caliber. Clear. The AK47, the 7.62x39, definitely did some damage. We took off a big piece here, and we've got gear oil and water mix just raining down all over the place. You can see more teeth are missing. There's some bullet jacket and lead fragments stuck in here. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. Let's try out the 450 Bushmaster next. Next, I've got an AR-15 platform chambered in 450 Bushmaster. Now, just like the Hornady rounds, these might also be Hornady, but these are, I believe these are 200 some odd grain, maybe 280. jacketed soft points, the polymer tip. I've only got 3 rounds in this thing, and I don't really anticipate this doing too much damage, but we're gonna send it just anyway. We just blew a new hole in the top of the case, but we are clear. Bolts locked back. All right, the 450 does pack a punch. It made a new hole right through here, and I only shot 3 rounds. I don't feel like going fishing around trying to find more. But we're gonna move on to some more exciting calibers. Let's try the 30-30 next and see what happens with that. Next up, we have the Marlin chambered in 30-30. This gun was actually sold by Western Auto Parts in 1968. And another fact about this gun is it is the second firearm I ever bought in my life. I bought this when I was 19 years old. The first being a 22 LR Ruger 1022. This was the second gun. I bought this from a pawn shop, and I had it for a long time, and when I was about 20 years old, I gave it to my grandfather when he moved away to North Florida, and he had it for a long time. Then back in 2014, after he passed away, I got this firearm back from his house, and it's back in my possession, but it's got some history to it, and we're gonna go ahead. It's loaded up with some jacketed soft points. I think they're 220 grain, could be wrong, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and send it out. I also have not shot this gun since I was about 19 or 20 years old. I'm gonna be 47 next month. Oh, the top's starting to break off. I'm gonna see if I can send it. That's it, out of ammo. Well, the 30-30 almost had this hanging by one eye bolt because I was tearing up all through here, and this piece is about to be broken off and will be hanging by just one on the axle tube. So I think the next gun is going to send that and make that happen. Next up, we've got a Springfield SOCOM 16, chambered in 308 NATO. We got some Lake City ammunition, full metal jacket, and we are gonna dislodge that transmission, I believe, on this one. I knew it. I knew I was coming. Clear. I knew it. I knew I was coming. Well then, we have ourselves a fully exposed internal transmission. So there's some interesting stuff going on here. Looks like we've got a bearing race hanging out from the axle tube. We've got entry holes. We've got exit holes. I think that's an exit. We've got bolts broken off the case. We've got on the needle bearing on the differential carrier, we've got a big divot there where a 308 nailed it just now. So yeah, she's looking pretty tore up. We got two rifles left. Next, we have a Finnish M39, which is a captured Mosin Nagant from the Second World War, where the Finns took these guns in and they re-arsenaled them to their liking. So this is actually an early hex receiver, and it's dated 1944, but I think that's the stamp the Finnish put on it, because it's probably an earlier model than that, being a hex. It's probably from the 20s. Anyway, this is 7.62x54R. I believe these rounds have a steel penetrator, and I only got 5, so let's see what this gun will do to it. I saw a spark. That's all I got. Let's move on to the next gun. The 7.62x54R is definitely no slouch, and I was aiming at the bull gear, the carrier here, and you can see some of the jacket, and there's some more damage in there from after the 308, but there's some jacket material coming out right there. But that 7.62x54R, that stuff's pretty good. Now let's move on to the very last caliber, and the most, I think, the most special gun that we have now. All right guys, last but not least, we have a very nice example of an M1 Garand. Now, real quick history. This rifle I purchased several years ago from a gentleman named Larry Toler. Now, Larry was a very good friend of my wife's family up in Illinois, and I actually met Larry back in 2014 around Christmas time. We went to visit him, and now that being 10 years ago, we went up there. I spent some time with Larry in his basement while Megan, my wife, visited with his wife, and he was showing me some of his gun collection, and we were talking about guns, and he showed me this weapon, and he said that one day when he parted with it, that he would notify me and sell it to me. Well, fast forward, I want to say 2022, maybe 2021. Can't remember, but we were living here in Tennessee, and I received a letter in the mail, and it looked like an average letter, like something that a company would send you with some fake cursive writing, because they do that to get you to open stuff, you know. And I almost threw it away, and I didn't, and I opened it, and it was from Larry. And it was a nice handwritten letter, you know, explaining that he was ready to part with this weapon, this rifle, and asked if I would be interested in purchasing it. Well, of course I was. So we purchased the rifle, and fast forward till just a few weeks ago, you know, Larry was getting a little bit older. You know, I believe he was in his early 90s, and he was living in an assisted home, and we went to visit him just a few weeks ago, and I thanked him in person, because I did not personally go buy the rifle from him back then. I couldn't make it up there. But I thanked him in person, shook his hand, talked with him. We spent, you know, some time there with him visiting. And unfortunately, Larry passed away just a couple days ago. So I'm gonna fire this gun in his honor. It shoots It holds 8 rounds in clips. If you're not familiar with the M1 Garand, the bolt will lock back because the clip follower is there. We're gonna hold the bolt back, push this down, and we're loaded up. I'm gonna shoot all 8 and listen for the ping at the end. Almost got the whole thing to drop. I was working on that last eye bolt, but we ran out. Anyway, this is a gorgeous rifle, and thank you, Larry. All right, guys, that 30-06 out of that M1 Garand is probably arguably the most powerful cartridge I've got, next to the 7.62 by 54R. So, as you can see, I was aiming at this, and I was able to break off the eye bolt where it mounted to the axle, and it actually sheared the threads on that. That bullet went in there through the boss on the axle tube and sheared off the whole thing, including the steel of this eye bolt. So it's all opened up. I was aiming over here to try to get this one to break so the whole transmission would fall, but didn't happen. And I'm not gonna shoot this thing anymore today. I think it's had enough. I still wanna save the shifter, this piece here, which did not get hit, amazingly. But I need to put this maybe on the John Deere transmission. Oh, look, it loosened up a little bit. Now we can kind of shift. But there you go. Well, we got some broken gears in here. Yeah, so can a Peerless 2300 stand up to a bunch of gunfire? I'd say that's a resounding no. Well, that was a lot of fun. I have not fired my firearms in quite a while, probably pushing a year and a half. It might have been last Thanksgiving, I don't even know. But that was a ton of fun. Let me know in the comments if you guys like firearm content. I think this is the first actual firearm video we've done on this channel, besides tractor builds and homesteading stuff. So let me know about that, and if you'd like to see any of these other firearms, maybe I can do a review over any one of them. And I've got even more stuff than this, so let me know about that. Also, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, I'm Jason. This is Tennessee Mountain Homestead, and I will see you on the next one.